Prince Harry has spoken to Charles and William, and the conversations were not productive, as William says his family is not racist.
Have you spoken to your brother since the interview?
No, I haven't spoken to him yet, but I will do.
Plus, Harry and William remember Princess Diana as the palace is hiring outside lawyers to look into Meghan's bullying claims, and her alleged email to a palace aide is revealed.
And allegedly the response that she received was that the Duchess of Cambridge should never be dragged into idle gossip. But they denied a story that Kate got Botox. I mean, you don't get much more
idle gossip than that. And royal expert and author Angela Levin reveals if Harry and William can get back on track.
I think it's very upsetting for William, and he's also very upset that there were things said rather unpleasantly about his wife. And I think most husbands would want to protect their wife, just as Harry does want to protect Meghan.
We got that plus so much more in today's Royally Us. Hello to our fellow royal lovers and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, that's Molly, the host of the Diva Behavior Podcast. And Molly, once again, we have a lot to get to.
What an action-packed week. Oh my goodness.
God, it just never stops in the royal household. But yes, we have a lot to get to. But before we do that, you all, of course, had a lot to say about Harry and Meghan's explosive interview. So let's kick it off with Sophia says how the royal family didn't know how challenging it's been for Harry and Meghan. We all knew how challenging it's been for Harry and Meghan. I mean, that is an interesting point and a valid point. It is kind of crazy that they weren't aware of how much she was really going through.
Yeah, it's really, their motto of never complain, never explain is not serving them well right now. To just sort of say as little as possible, I don't think it's working.
Not at all. Gigi says, this is the first time I've seen family bashing in public of such a high level. Sounds like the Sussexes were just bitter because their expectations were so high. I don't know.
I know. I think you could argue that maybe with the title issue, yes, because some grandchildren of the Queen don't have titles, let alone great grandchildren. Like maybe you could argue it with that, but it's still is terrible optics and terrible PR to not give Archie a title. Mm-hmm. And the other stuff, the not wanting to tell the truth to protect Meghan, that's not a high expectation.
No, that's what families should do. Like, that's not a high expectation. And then Anna says Princess Diana's with them watching over her beautiful son, daughter-in-law, and grandson. She'd be so proud of Meghan, I think. I mean, maybe, who knows? We don't know. But I think that she would be proud of Harry for standing up for himself and kind of doing what is best for his family. And, she felt, Diana kind of stood up against the firm as well and spoke out for what she believed in. So
yeah, it definitely feels like he's avenging her in some sense with all of these statements and everything.
Totally. All right, well, let's get into our royal roundup and kick it off, which this was interesting. So Gayle King spoke out saying that she spoke to Prince Harry and said that Harry told her that he talked to William and Charles and those conversations were not productive. What do you kind of make of this?
It's pretty bad. I mean, it's interesting that this information is coming via Gayle King.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if this is going to be a trend, but I guess I don't know what to make of that. But yeah, the fact that the conversations were not productive is just what could they be disagreeing about?
Right. Yeah. She also said that the family has not talked to Meghan yet. Or at that particular time. And it's frustrating for them to see that it's a racial conversation about the royal family when all they wanted all along was for royals to intervene and tell the press to stop with the unfair, inaccurate, false stories that definitely have a racial slant.
I mean, I don't see how this couldn't have become a racial conversation. And I think it's a conversation that needs to be had, obviously. Yeah. If it wasn't a conversation that we needed to have, then people wouldn't be still in this, second week talking about the racial elements of this, because that I think is like the biggest story.
Totally. And, Harry said that he was happy that at least conversations were starting and that the family has to acknowledge that there are issues right now and no one is actually doing that. So they really want to have a conversation. Hopefully this opens up the door, but we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. But that now that the palace is having a private investigation into these bullying claims, it's going to maybe put an even further strain on the relationship as well.
And these statements run counter to the statement that the palace put out saying that they're going to look into everything and deal with it as a family, because if there aren't productive conversations being had, then what's happening? It seems
Right.
like they're just at an impasse and
Right.
no one wants to budge.
Right. And they don't want to admit they're wrong. That's what it seems like. And they're just going to kind of keep going around in circles until, there's some compromise or some understanding. And, you kind of got to open your eyes a little bit to see why they're hurting. I mean, they picked up their entire life and left because of their unfair treatment. I mean, that has to wake something up, you would think, and at least hear them out. And, maybe this interview was kind of like a cry for help and the only way that they felt like they could reach them. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's very possible.
Yeah, who knows? All right. Well, Prince William did respond to Harry and Meghan's interview at an event with Duchess Kate. He was speaking to reporters, and here is what he had to say.
Can you just let me know, is the royal family a racist family, sir?
No, we're very much not a racist family.
So what did you think of William's response? Obviously, this was not a formal statement. It was, I think reporters weren't even supposed to bring that up, but this reporter did. And he asked if their family was a racist family. And he said, no, that they are not. But he also said that at the time that this happened, that he didn't even speak to him, which was also kind of alarming.
Right. It's just the fact that they hadn't spoken yet, and yet he's still saying we are not a racist family.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, think about that. It makes no sense. And also, there was probably no satisfactory way for him to answer this question that was shouted at him by a stranger. I mean, what would anyone say in that situation? I don't know, but he probably picked the worst thing to say.
Yeah.
It would have reflected better on him if he just said yes.
Yeah. Right. Right. Or just kept walking. Like, you don't have to respond to the paparazzis. Like, you just can keep going and not say anything. And, maybe that's what he should have done. And they kind of craft a bigger they did put out a statement, but maybe craft something a little bit more eloquent and maybe something to get his point across. But this was definitely not the best way to go about it.
And it's just like, look at the history books,
right.
William.
Yeah.
You guys have a bad track record.
Right. Seriously.
You can say maybe the people that are alive now are trying to listen and learn how to not keep living that legacy. But by answering, no, we are very much not a racist family, it just seems so tone deaf and honestly ignorant, I would say.
Totally out of touch. It really is. Well, like we said before, Buckingham Palace has reportedly decided to call an outside counsel for their inquiry into bullying allegations made against Meghan by palace staffers. So obviously they are going to look into this, but what exactly are lawyers going to be looking into?
They're going to be looking into whether or not Meghan bullied, I guess, the people that worked for them, and whether these people were driven out of their job by Meghan's alleged conduct. And I guess they're just going to be going through all the documentation and seeing if there were any workforce violations going on or workplace violations.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to have to wait and see. I'm sure. And they did say that they're going to keep this more private now. They're probably not going to release any of the information probably until the end. So it seems like they're going to keep this a little bit more on the down low.
Yeah. And it seems like, they're bringing in outside lawyers for a reason. They probably don't want to have it look like, oh, we investigated ourselves and didn't find anything, or, and make it look like it was biased in some way.
Right.
But, then the question becomes, who are the lawyers? Because a lot of people are biased against Meghan and Harry to begin with, especially in the UK. So it's such a can of worms any way you look at this case.
That is a very good point. Yeah, it is definitely a can of worms. All right. Well, this comes as Meghan's alleged email to a palace aide about her feud with Duchess Kate is revealed. Now, this was in Harper's Bazaar. So this was, of course, about the story that Meghan, shot down during her interview, saying that she made Duchess Kate cry and it was actually the reverse. And so this was an email that was revealed about that.
Basically, the story said that Meghan had emailed an aide and asked why her side of the story was never considered important to anyone. And she basically said, if we're just throwing any statement out there now, then perhaps KP, Kensington Palace, can finally set the record straight about me, as in her not making Kate cry. And allegedly the response that she received was that the Duchess of Cambridge should never be dragged into idle gossip. But they denied a story that Kate got Botox. I mean, you don't get much more
idle gossip than that.
Gossip than that, you know?
That is so true. And, there were so many stories about Meghan that were idle gossip that they never shot down. So it definitely seemed like there was a double standard when it came to Meghan and when it came to Kate. And sources told us that Meghan and Kate have not spoken directly in over a year, which is, I don't think that has changed since the interview, since, Harry allegedly told Gayle King that nobody has reached out to Meghan, but I guess they haven't spoken over a year because of the rift between William and Harry, but I can't imagine them going out for tea anytime soon.
I know, definitely not.
Yeah.
And it sort of like reinforces the kind of conspiracy theory that Meghan was a sacrificial lamb to make all the other people in the palaces look good, because it's like, okay, we're not dragging the Duchess of Cambridge into idle gossip about you, but we will very quickly release statements to refute idle gossip about her.
Right.
So it just kind of proves everything that I guess Meghan fans have been saying all along.
Right, all along. All right. Well, Prince Harry and Prince William paid tributes to Princess Diana on Mother's Day. Obviously, this was really cute that Prince George writes a letter to Princess Diana every single year. So they shared that on their Instagram. And then what did Prince Harry do to mark the occasion?
And Prince Harry arranged for flowers to be laid at Princess Diana's gravesite.
Yeah.
And they released they didn't release a statement, but they did, notify people that was going on. So that was really nice.
It's so sad that you just wish that they would be able to come together for something like this, like a Mother's Day. And, obviously the statue is going to be revealed in a few months and we don't know if Harry is going to come back. Obviously, there could, with tensions in the family, with COVID restrictions and things like that. It's just, this whole situation is just sad. It really is.
Yeah. And the fact that both of the brothers sort of made public what they were doing in honor of their mother for Mother's Day, I think just speaks to how much this whole situation has dredged up the past, because to my memory, there has been no previous Mother's Day when they spoke about Princess Diana. And, we all hear about, for years, there's been a campaign going on to make Prince Charles look good and make people approve of him as the next monarch. And, by association, that means sort of not bringing up the whole Diana thing. And now it's on the tip of everybody's tongues, multiple times a week.
It's so true. It really is. All right. Well, Queen Elizabeth hosted her first engagement after Buckingham Palace released a statement in response to Harry and Meghan's interview. She joined a virtual science showcase celebrating British Science Week alongside the nation's leading scientists, educators, and several school children. Take a look.
Yuri Gagarin, the first human to travel out into space, was also born on the 9th of March. And I believe, ma'am, that you met him. Can you tell us about that?
I did indeed, yes. It was very interesting to meet him.
What was he like?
Russian. He didn't speak English.
She was her joking self, which was cute. I love that.
Yeah, it was very naturalistic and unscripted.
Yeah, it seemed like her mood was, upbeat, and it was good to see her. I mean, she looks, I know I say it every single time, but she looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And she's just, the way that she's able to sort of joke around with little kids at the age of 94 is unreal.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure she is very happy today because Prince Phillip has been released from the hospital after being there for almost a month. He underwent a heart surgery. He was battling an infection. So it's good to see that he is back home.
Yes, definitely. It's really a relief. I mean, that's almost a month in the hospital. That's really serious.
It is really serious. It's a long time. And of course, at 99 years old, that's a very long time, but we are glad to hear that he is on the mend, back at Windsor Castle, and hopefully resting and in good spirits. And I know, we spoke about Duchess Kate before, but she actually had an appearance this week too, right? She was at a memorial service.
Yes, she was at a memorial service for Sarah Everard, the woman who disappeared from Clapham Common in South London this past weekend. There was a big memorial service for her. It was a vigil, and the Duchess of Cambridge was spotted there on her own. It was not an announced appearance. It seems like it was probably a pretty spur-of-the-moment thing. And, it just brought to mind for a lot of people the way that when Kate was younger, walking around London, she would have probably been out late at night alone. And, just that this could happen to anyone. And this, this is a story that has really rocked the UK in the past few weeks. It's something that's bringing up a lot of conversations and a lot of emotions. So it was really interesting to see her kind of step in and do that. And, you know, I feel like the Duchess of Cambridge doesn't usually do things that could be construed as controversial or political. Like, remember during the Me Too era, like when it was first starting, she didn't wear black to the BAFTAs when all of the other women were. But this, she did step in. So I think it says a lot.
Definitely. Such a sad situation. All right. Well, let's time to spill the royalty. And we are hearing that the Queen and Prince Charles are really not on the same page when it comes to dealing with Harry and Meghan. So it seems like the Queen wants to take a more modest approach while Charles wants to kind of lay it all out there.
Yeah, apparently Charles wants to refute each of the allegations one by one, which, I mean, bring it on. We would all, I think, love to see that and sort of understand what their thinking is on all of that. Whereas, the Queen thinks that they should just kind of never complain, never explain, like we said. I mean, what do you think is the better approach?
I feel like I would like an explanation. I would love to hear their side of the story for once. I mean, you know, I think it would kind of open a lot of people's eyes. I don't know if a lot of people are going to agree with what they have to say, but at least we would understand what Harry and Meghan have been dealing with. I would love to hear what they have to say, because I think silence is speaking volumes too.
It is. And it's just, from everything that we're hearing, it just doesn't sound like they really understand what the charges, I mean, not real charges, but the complaints against them even are. It just seems like they don't have any concept of that. But I think the reason why the Queen probably doesn't want to say anything is because there are still a lot of people in the UK defending the royal family, defending the crown. And if you're still thinking that they had no part in this after watching that interview, you're probably going to defend them for life. So I think the Queen's thinking is probably, let's just like keep our fans who our fans are. We still have a majority of people in our corner, and like, let it go.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, but who knows if that's going to work this time around. Well, it appears that Queen Elizabeth spoke to members of her family before publicly addressing Prince Harry and Meghan's interview. Now, while analyzing the palace's statement, royal author Phil Dampier said clearly she has spoken to the person who allegedly made the remark about Archie, and they have given her their version of the events, because in the statement, you know, she said recollections may vary. I mean, maybe, I guess, that she definitely spoke to this person.
Also, if she did, do you think anyone would have honestly been like, yeah, it was me, I was concerned? It's like getting called to the principal's office. Like, you're not going to be like, yeah, I lit the school on fire.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. It was me. No, I don't know. But
else happened.
Right.
Like,
yeah. It was an interesting choice of words, though, that like the recollections may vary. And some, as you know, they said, while some recollections may vary, it seems that Meghan's friend, Janina Gavankar, believes that they have some receipts. So take a look at this.
I know that the family and the staff were well aware of the extent of it. And though their recollections may vary, ours don't, because we lived through it with them. And there are many emails and texts to support that.
Yeah, so Janina basically said that Meghan and Harry have proof, text messages, emails, that, you know, that this happened. I mean, do you think that they're going to release these emails and text messages?
I don't know. I mean, that would definitely get a lot of views on Netflix if they did. Maybe they'll read them out on the podcast. I don't know. Like, it would be definitely a bombshell if they did release it. I mean, I don't think Janina Gavankar has any reason to lie. And something else really interesting she said was that it wasn't, I always assumed that Meghan's friends didn't speak about her because she didn't want them to. But Janina said, you know, we didn't speak because the palace assured Meghan and Harry that they would protect them and there's no need for us to speak. So that was really interesting.
That is really interesting. I wonder if more and more people will come forward. I mean, we've seen a bunch of her suits, castmates, directors, you know, people like that have spoken out on Instagram in support of her, and, you know, kind of telling stories of like some of the great things that she has done for them and what a great friend she is. So it'll be interesting to see if a lot more people come forward. But all right, well, it is time to break down the royal rules, and to help us do that is royal expert and author of Harry, Conversations with the Prince, Angela Levin. Take a look. What happened this morning is that Gayle King spoke out saying that Harry has spoken to Charles and William and that these conversations were not productive. Are you surprised by that?
It's actually only William he was talking about, because William rang him Saturday evening. I thought it was a terrible thing to say, really, because it's a real invasion of privacy. And William and Harry and Meghan have spoken a lot about how they wanted privacy. They wanted to leave the royal family partly because they wanted privacy. And I think to mention such a negative, a little patronizing word about a conversation that must have been very difficult for both of them, brothers. And if they are trying to work towards mending the rift, if you hear that somebody said it was unproductive, it's not actually enthusiastic. It's not actually hoping that things would get better. This was a preliminary conversation. They haven't spoken for a long time. And it's really like hitting somebody in the face that they thought it was unproductive. I'm not quite sure what he expected. You can't imagine that it would be healed in one conversation. And did it mean that he was only interested in what he felt and he wasn't interested in William? I hope not. But for a brother to say that when it's ongoing, I thought it was very distasteful.
Do you have any information on the conversation about what happened? You said that William called him on Saturday. Is that right?
Yeah, William called him. He mentioned that it is confirmed that he called Harry. Yes.
Okay. I mean, before we wrap up, I mean, what do you think it would take for William and Harry to make amends? And, you know, during this phone call, did William apologize for any of the behavior that happened? And do you know the extent of that conversation?
I don't know the extent of the conversation. It's a private conversation. And I don't know whether Harry apologized, William apologized. I don't know what they said about each other. But I think William is very hurt by the allegation that he is a racist. Hasn't mentioned his name, but the attack that there are racists in the royal family, but it's not the Queen and it's not Prince Phillip, who's incidentally has just come out of hospital, I'm very pleased to say, you know, he's put there with a dark cloud hanging over him, as is Prince Charles. I mean, if you make an accusation like that, which is really atrocious, to say that somebody in the royal family is you know, against her colour, and for them to be able to respond to it, they can't really. Their positions won't let them. So I think it's very upsetting for William, and he's also very upset that there were things said rather unpleasantly about his wife, and I think most husbands would want to protect their wife, just as Harry does want to protect Meghan. I think the one positive thing is if Harry does make it over to the UK in the summer for the unveiling of the statue of their mother, Diana, who died when she was 36. And I think that's something they've been working on since 2017, and they've had a lot of arguments about how it should be and the shape of it and the position, all that sort of thing. So they eventually came to an agreement. And I think if they can come over, if he can come over and be with William a bit, it might help. But I don't think they could ever have the same closeness that they had before. I mean, Prince Harry told me that William was the only person he could really trust and the only person he could say anything to, because of their unique experience of losing a mother so young, having to grieve when there's millions of people watching them around the world, and also the difficulties of being in the royal family, the difficulties and restrictions, and they understood each other's position. So they have a lot in common, although they're very different personalities. But I think it's gone too far. It was a very aggressive interview on behalf of both of them. And I don't know how quite you overcome that.
Well, moving on to our royal history moment of the week. And could Meghan be making history of her own? A report claims that the Duchess of Sussex is eyeing a bid to the White House. I don't know if I believe this.
Yeah, I mean, nothing would surprise me. I always say that, Meghan Markle and Kim Kardashian are two people who we are going to see becoming increasingly political in the next few years. But being the president, being in politics in general, just seems really boring and awful. Right?
Yes. No, it does. It definitely does. They said that, she's been talking to top Democrats and, kind of, putting them in her corner. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I really believe this. I think she's kind of more focused on her charity work and things like that. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. It could be Meghan and Kim on a ticket in a few years. Who knows?
I mean, they'd have my vote. I'm not even joking.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, we have to check in on our royal kids and some happy news for the Middleton family. Pippa Middleton and her husband, James Matthews, welcomed a baby girl. So that's exciting.
Yeah, really sweet. Her name is Grace Elizabeth Jane, and Elizabeth is also the middle name of the Duchess of Cambridge.
Very cool.
Really nice.
A little nod to that. I know that their son, his middle name is a nod to James's brother. So it seems like they're kind of, just giving some a tribute to their family, which is very nice. So congrats to them. Nothing like a new baby to kind of bring up your spirits.
The Middletons are so cute and they seem so fun. And did you see there was also a photo of Carol Middleton with Kate shared on the Kensington Royal Instagram account? And she had on such a Diana outfit and she even had the same haircut as Diana. It was really cute. Like she was taking style cues from her.
She might have. Who knows? Yeah. She definitely could have. But yes, that was definitely cute. And like we said, nothing like to end this week on a high note with the new baby.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Molly, thank you so much. There was a lot to unpack today, but we made it through.
Yes. Thank you, Christina.
All right. Well, for much more on the Royals, head on over to usmagazine.com. Make sure to check back for Royally Us every Wednesday on Us Weekly's YouTube channel at 10:30. Keep commenting, keep subscribing, and we'll see you guys next week.